as someone who has literally done Mustang stuff, like the whole 9 yards, traction control off. Bro, watch this.
What's up, all you auto enthusiasts out there? Buckle up for a unique experience where we have custom vehicles, then their owners share the spotlight in our studio. Have you ever seen a cool ride and wondered who the owner is or what the history is behind the build? On today's episode of Tailpipe Talk, we'll be speaking with TJ, who goes by TJ_Wiley 5.0 on Instagram. We'll get to know more about TJ and what inspired him to build his 2017 S550 Mustang. TJ. What's up, buddy?
How's it going, Jason?
Good. Welcome to the show.
Yes, sir. Good to see you again. Been excited about this, man.
Yes.
Post about it and all
Trying
that.
to get you on here for a while. Yeah. busy man.
Yeah. Finally got a day off. Working 12-hour days don't afford a lot of time off to do cool stuff like this.
This is true. Well, before we get into the Mustang, tell us and the audience a little bit about yourself.
Not a whole lot of interesting stuff, I guess I would say. I'm 23. I just got engaged. I'm basically cars is pretty much the only interesting thing about me, I guess. Used to build pro mod drag cars. Now I work a corporate job writing mortgages. So hoping to get back to that someday. But yeah, not a whole lot.
Very cool. And you said you just got engaged.
Yes, sir.
Well, Congratulations. I know Lori. Amazing girl.
Yes, sir.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit more about that.
Lauren and I started dating back in 2017. We were both working at the Movie Tavern up in Denton, if some of y'all know where that is. And we were both servers, and she had just been on a date with another server, and she was telling me all about how horrible it was. The kid took her to Beth Marie's, the ice cream shop, and she said he was awkward the whole time, and they go to pay, and the cashier lady says, "Is this going to be together or separate?" And the kid looked at Lauren and was like, together, I'll get it. And she was like, it was a hell of an experience. And so we were cleaning a theater, and, she was telling me all about how this guy was kind of weird and all that. The date wasn't that great. And one of our managers opened the door and said, "Teddy, you have a theater seating." And I'm like, okay. We had to stop our conversation, and I told her, I said, we got to continue this conversation because I don't want to look like an idiot when I ask.
Sure.
And then I walked off. And she said she stood there and was like, "Oh gosh!" And so from then on, we've basically been inseparable since.
Yeah.
She's been blowing up my phone. Actually, we don't spend much time away from each other. But yeah, I'm extremely blessed.
That's good. Very blessed. That's good. Congratulations again, man. That's awesome.
Thank you.
That is awesome. Very cool. Well, let's get started and talk about this beautiful S550 Mustang back here. Tell us a little bit about it.
It's built to do exactly what it's doing right now. And I would say it does it pretty well. Basically, there's kind of a story that leads up to, owning this car. My dad had recently become a free man, if you will, and had never really bought himself a lot of things over our childhood and things like that. I was in a place where I was making my own money. My sister was doing well as well, and he was kind of in a spot where he's like, what, I'm gonna get myself something, like for the first time in a long time. And we drove up to Oklahoma and bought a 2013 Mustang GT. It was a base model automatic car. And he drove it home, and he was over the moon for probably 3 or 4 days. And this was late 2017, and like I said, he was just blown away that he finally got himself a Mustang after not having one since '89.
Mm-hmm.
And so he drove that car, like I said, 3 or 4 days, and he got out of it one day and shut the door and just didn't look as excited as he had the past week. And I was like, what is it about the car? You don't like it, or what is it? And he's like, man, I just, I wish I would have got a new one. I wish I would have gone and got the the newest one and all that. And I'm like, yeah, well, that's certainly understandable. And he's like, well, I'm going to look into trading this in. I'm like, well, hold on, money bags. You have a nice job and a bunch of money, and I don't. I said, at the time I was building cars, and And if anybody knows about loans, 1099 income is really hard to work
Oh,
with,
yeah.
especially with a car. And I told him, if you could let me finance this thing through the bank of Dad,
Yeah.
then I could have a car, and then you can go, get you a Mustang. And I don't know how, but I talked him into it. And so he gave me the S197, and we went looking for a 17 for him. He wanted the new one. We found a brand new 17 401A car, which was the premium. It's got the leather and all that good stuff. And they had put some like American racing wheels on it, done a couple things cosmetically as far as like black vents, and I think they wrapped the roof black. But other than that, it was a stock car, and it had 3 miles on it. It was sitting on the tile, the whole 9 yards. That's what he wanted.
Yeah.
And it was kind of a treat yourself moment.
Yeah.
And so he goes and he got his 17, and we loved that car for a long time. It was an absolute blast. He drove it around for probably 6 or 8 months. We did all kinds of stuff to the car, and didn't get as serious as we did with what he's got now. And it wasn't bagged or anything like what I have, but just minor bolt-ons, some exhaust and stuff like that. Labor Day, he's driving down the road going 45 in the slow lane, minding his own business. Torrential rain, and this was, like I said, Labor Day of 18, and he's just driving down the road, and a lady in a Tahoe with basically drag slicks and an 8-year-old in the back seat is weaving in and out of traffic, and one of her weaves goes right into his driver door. He bounces the front and the rear of the car off of the concrete median there on 35. First thing he did was swing the car out, or swing the door open, and this lady is in reverse trying to drive around him so that she can leave. And he's in the rain, and if you've ever met my dad, it's like Ram Man from He-Man. If you guys remember He-Man, if you know Ram Man, that's my father, actually. Yeah. He played Ram Man in He-Man. No, I'm just kidding. It's a cartoon. But so he gets out, and he's as angry can get, because this lady has basically just totaled his custom car on a day where he wasn't supposed to have to go to work, but he did. And she's trying to drive away, and he basically puts both fists in the hood of the car and was like, "You're not going anywhere."
Yeah.
So he's standing there in front of the lady, calls me, was like, the car's wrecked, car's done. And I'm like, "Where are you? I'm coming." And we go up there. He was dealing with some other health issues at the time, and that were, kind of serious. And he decided, I want to go to the hospital, get checked out. And so we were sitting in the ambulance at the time, and it was a far smarter option to just take the Mustang instead. So
yeah,
we jumped in my 13, took him to the hospital. Luckily, he was all right. But we get out of the hospital after finding out that basically nothing was wrong with him other than he gashed his leg and bumped his head. But the important stuff was okay. And he waited 3 days. We didn't even have the police report yet. And he's like, "I found this 18 so-and-so place." I'm like, "Dad, we don't even know what the insurance is going to give you for this car.
Yeah.
We haven't figured it. He's like, no, this is the one I want. I want to go get this one." I'm like, "Okay." This time he decided to buy a used one. I think it had like 8,000 miles on it. So let someone else take the depreciation hit. Bone stock, 10-speed car. And so he bought that, and I drove him to get it in the 13. We parked at a gas station afterwards and took some pictures with the two cars. It's actually the only time that the two cars were really together was, later that day. We get home, he parks in his spot, and I park beside him in the garage. And when we had the 13 and the 17, those were back-to-back generations of the Mustang. And so it was kind of cool, father and son, both white cars, white and black with the Stormtrooper stuff. And he decided, he's going to get an 18, which is the facelifted S550. We parked it side by side. It's like 1:30, 2 o'clock, and I'm like, well, now there's a gap between us.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I wonder what's for sale. And like I said, it's like 1:30, 2 o'clock. By 5 p.m., I was signing papers on my 17. So for the longest time, we had paper plates with the same date on them, which was a lot of fun. It was so cool to kind of roll around together. And we still had paper plates on the cars when they were bagged. We had basically, I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks after Dad bought his, I told him, I was like, "I want to bag the car."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Dude, don't even say that." He said, you need to go outside, take the springs out from under your car, and put mashed potatoes there, and that's what it's going to drive like. And I'm like, okay, well, I value his opinion. I'm not just going to buy it and do it anyways. I'm like, okay, well, let me look into it. And Airlift actually put a coilover car and a bagged car side by side and ran them around a track.
Mm-hmm.
And the bagged car outperformed the coilover car in every measurable parameter. And so I just was like, okay, well, Dad, here's the data.
Right.
And he was, he's like, what if we did both of them? so it was a cool moment, and we reached out to Kyle with Farmer Performance and Mike with Tuner Goods, and I hit up Mike and was like, hey, we have 2 cars that we want to do. Love to be a brand ambassador for you guys.
Yeah.
Same thing with Kyle with Farmer Performance. I was like, man, I know you do good work. I definitely could have put the bags on ourselves. At the time, we didn't have the time to, take on something that involved. So we had Kyle do it for us. He did great work. I've never had any issues out of any part of this stuff. And then Mike supplied everything for us, so it's been pretty cool. Shortly after that, did like wheels and stuff, and then Dad kind of went off into another dimension, and I kind of stayed where I was at. And now he's got the supercharger and the nitrous and the roll cage and all that stuff. But he's got dad money. I have kid money.
There you go. There you go. It looks good though, man. It looks good.
Thank you.
What kind of wheels are you running?
Those are I think the brand's called Downforce.
Okay.
I'll be dead honest with you and everybody else. I like them because they're cheap. They were, it's not like your carbon fiber wheels on the GT350 where if you curb one, it's $20,000 to get it fixed.
Right.
These wheels were cheap. I thought they looked great. It was the offset I wanted. That's kind of where I started. Once I bagged the car, I knew I wanted to run the Continentals on it just because I had those on my 13. It was one of the best tires I'd used in the rain. If you wanted to take it to the track, you take it to the track, the extreme contacts or whatever. And so I was like, I started on Fitment Industries where you can go on there and, you literally enter the wheel size and offset and it'll show you a car that has that on there. And so I was looking at the bagged cars and the way that the wheels tucked right inside the fender and all that. And that's what I wanted. And so actually LMR of all places was where I found those, and I just immediately fell in love. They kind of reminded me of what I had on the 13, which was the 2011, 2012 Shelby 500 wheels with the split forks and things like that.
Yeah.
And when I saw the price, I was like, okay, I can't not get these wheels.
Yeah, they look great.
But
they look great. Good combination.
Other than the black paint getting dusty, I really like them. But yeah.
And then as far as exhaust?
So the exhaust is actually a set of Cook's headers, Cook's 1 3/4 catted headers that came off of a friend of mine's car. A guy that I went to high school with. He didn't go to high school with me, but we were very close and partied together. Our high schools were 5 minutes away. But he had a 17 GT that he hydroplaned one night and bounced it off the guardrail. And he calls me and was like, hey, I just told him my car. He's like, I know you have tools in a shop and you have one of these. I already got my estimate from the insurance and they're not paying me any extra for these parts. So do you want to buy anything? And I'm like, what do you got? And he sent me a list of like the headers. There was a set of wheels. There was a performance pack car, so I stole his brakes, all kinds of stuff. And so he brought the car over. I actually towed it with my truck. I didn't have a trailer or anything, and he lived right across town. So we literally tied a tow strap to the front bumper, pulled it through town and everything.
School.
Oh, yeah. Fender liners coming out of the car. There's like smoke coming out of the car because the fender liners are burning.
Yeah.
And it's like, it was all wrecked. And he was like, it's scrap metal now. So I was like, whatever, if you say so. And we get it to my shop and I pulled the wheels off and it was a performance pack car. So it has the 16-inch rotors.
Yeah.
Well, a 16-inch rotor with a caliper on it does not fit in a 17-inch wheel, which is what I had laying around.
Gotcha.
Older S1.
Gotcha.
So we ended up, in order to get that car onto the trailer, he sent the insurance company to my house to get the car. And the insurance guy pulls it up on the trailer. In order to get it on the trailer, I had to take the calipers off of all four corners and basically zip tie them up to like the A-arms and stuff. And so the car had no calipers and 17-inch wheels on 16-inch rotors. And so it was a hell of a look. It was,
I'm sure.
Really weird. Sure. But I got a lot of stuff from him. But anyway, the exhaust, it was those Cook's 1 3/4 headers. And then I have an X-Pipe and then basically an MBRP muffler delete. So it's got what is basically 2 really small, nearly useless cats. And
Gotcha.
That's it.
Well, it sounds really good.
Thank you.
That sounds really good.
I didn't want to go full straight pipe. The Coyotes kind of have a nasty sound. They do get raspy, and with too much flow, they have like a slap sound to them, which gets weird.
Gotcha.
But I really like the way it sounds.
All right. So you got wheels, you got bags, you got exhaust. What else have you done to it?
Everything else is really the little stuff, like side markers and the little Roush fins at the bottom of the diffuser there. The headlights and fog lights are smoked. The car is tinted to 5% all around, except the windshield, which I do need to get done. But other than that, I mean, that's pretty much it. Just a little bit of performance, a little bit of cosmetic, just to make it my own. Make it as close to one of one as it can be, being just another bagged 5.0. But I really like the car. I'm happy with the way it's turned out so far, and happy with where it's headed. So
very cool, man. Have you ever raced it?
This car, no. I have, other than fun runs on the highway and pulling people. But I've never put it down the strip. This car, my 13, we went there quite a bit. At the time, North Star Dragway was still operable.
Right. Yeah.
I live literally, like, you could almost throw a baseball and hit my house from North Star Dragway.
Oh, wow.
As a kid, 6, 7 years old, I could lay in my bed in my bedroom and hear the big cars go down the track. And so I think there might be some kind of subliminal thing there.
That's super cool.
When I was a kid, like hearing all that while I slept,
That's
maybe
awesome.
put the bug in me a little bit. But, it was really cool until the owner screwed everything up and sold it to Peterbilt for pennies on what it should have been paid for. Yeah. And it's basically a parking lot now. If you go down 156 there, headed through Denton into Crum, you'll see big Peterbilt trucks parked there. The tower for the drag strip is still there. The actual, like the announcer's tower, the tree's gone and everything like that. All the guardrails and everything is gone, and they just park Peterbilt trucks out there now. We broke a world record there with Rodney Watley it was the world's fastest X275 small block car for about 2.5 months, and we broke that record there at North Star Dragway. And it was one of those moments where I was like, man, I can't wait to take my kids here. Right. And then, like I said, the owner kind of screwed it up. And
it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate.
Yep.
Very unfortunate.
I've never raced this one. If it was, I've been recently kind of getting a bug for autocross. If it was a base car, I'd strip the seats out and all that. But I don't think anybody's going to pay for stock GT seats. And I
was going to ask you about autocross. I'd be curious to see how well it does.
I think it would be an absolute blast, especially with the adjustability of the bags. Right. Being an independent rear suspension car.
For sure.
I think it'd be a lot of fun.
For sure.
It's a heavy pig, though, right now, as it sits.
Yeah, so, I mean, I drive the truck and I autocross it, and that's long wheelbase. It's heavy. Yeah. But at the end of the day,
still a blast.
You're having fun. At the end of the day, you're having fun. You're not going out there trying to be competitive. But I think it would do really, really well.
That's funny. You're the first guy that I've seen do that. So my dad and I, since I was a kid, went to the Good Guys shows as often as we could.
Yep.
When you find the time and convince your child to spend all day in the 100-degree heat. And
I don't know anything about that.
I'm sure. And but so we were there one day, and there's some guy out there in a freaking 4-door Chevy truck. For some reason, and he is tearing the hell out of this autocross course. And I'm pretty sure you had 3 other people in the truck with you.
I'm sure I did.
And I'm just like, and this was years before we had met, or years before my dad or I had even had a car. And I was like, this guy is living. Like all these other people in their, their fancy built cars or whatever. This guy's, I'm gonna take my truck around that track. And I'm like, hell yeah! So it was kind of cool. Like years later. I think it was actually during Slam, if I remember right, I think that there was some autocross type stuff that you had set up then, or maybe it was another Good Guys show.
It must have been another Good Guys. We didn't offer it in Slam just because we had so much going on, other stuff. That is something that we are working on. I don't know if it's going to be autocross or just a skid pad.
Ooh, yeah.
Because I know everybody likes to just go out there and whip donuts and tear it up, and I think
unless
that's probably
you're on the street. take over people.
Yeah.
The worst.
But no, I mean it's funny because I'm also a good guys goer. Have always been since way back in probably my teens, and my two boys were out there in 2013. I had just had the truck for I don't know, like maybe 5 months, and had lowered it already.
Yep.
Just a 4.6 drop, nothing fancy, no custom shocks and coilovers and anything crazy, and it had 22-inch wheels, and all I wanted was like a little family cruiser. And then the kids are like, Dad, you should take it out to autocross. I'm like, what?
Yeah, what are y'all saying?
Like, and they're like, yeah. And I'm like, no. And they're like, yeah, you should take it out there, see what you can do. I'm like, all right, cool. And the commentator, I remember vividly, he's like having a field day. He's like, oh my gosh, is it supposed to be making that noise? There's plastic coming out of the wheel well. And I'm like,
Oh, no.
I'm just shoving these 22s. The body roll is crazy. But I get off at the track and I was like,
Everybody loved it.
dude, I'm ecstatic.
That's
I'm like, I
awesome.
broke some shit. I'm cool. I had a good time, And so that started the autocross adventure. And honestly, the truck is what I had.
Yeah.
The truck is what I had, and I was like,
I want to go racing.
I can put my whole family in it. It's still a truck. It's versatile. And then I was hooked, man. I was hooked.
cool.
Always been into cars, but never did the autocross until then.
Damn.
So, but yeah, I think you would do very well. It's a good setup, plenty of power.
It'd be a
So
lot of fun.
yeah.
And that was
now,
cool.
and
Like-
now, Good Guys has this thing. They just had it. It's their first one. Was it this month or last month? It was in June. It was their All-Star. I think it was All-Star. So normally Good Guys is 87 and older, and there was a point in time where it was 73 and older, but all American made or powered.
Oh yeah.
And then on Sunday, they started doing this All-American Sunday probably 4 or 5 years back, where you can bring in, or actually further back than that, where you can bring in anything, any age on Sundays, right?
Oh yeah. Mhm.
Well, now Good Guys just launched their All-Star Series, I believe that's what it was called, in June here in Texas, where Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, you can bring in any year on any day, and there's no limitations, but it still has to be American made or powered. So like your Mustang, you could be there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, like just hitting
Tearing it
autocross.
up. Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd
So
be cool.
you
Chasing
should,
times.
you should, man, listen, you should go out there one time. I'll tell you. I mean, it's a blast. If nothing else, you get to like drive your vehicle how you probably want to sometimes, and the orange cones and its experience, and it's like I said, man, it's a blast.
I'll have to do that.
It's a blast.
I'll have to do that next
Bet
time.
you and your dad would have a good time side by side,
Oh, yeah.
and just seeing who's got the better time. And I will say, it is not all about horsepower around autocross.
Yep.
It is not. It is how you take the corners, how you handle your vehicle. These people that have way too much power, and I'll overdrive the truck. Hell yeah. I mean, I'll go into turn and I'm pushing really hard, or spinning out or whatever.
I saw that
But
video.
oh man, and I didn't think anybody captured that either,
That's so cool.
because Nick wasn't recording. My son was with me, and he wasn't recording that particular run. And then I think the day after, or 2 days later, somebody sent that video to our TSP page.
That's
and I
cool.
was like, yes, somebody got it. And that was totally on accident. I came around that turn, and that was probably my 7th time running, never spun out, and that truck just lost it. I'm like, you know what? I'm in it. I never hit a cone.
Dang.
Still finished. And even the commentator's like, look at this guy. Finishes with a 47-second time.
And did a donut.
And doesn't hit a cone.
That's awesome.
So, again, man, just a good time. And, so many people commented later because I posted just regular pictures. And like, nobody got the video of you doing that. He's like, that was the best thing all day. So, but again, just a good time, man. I like giving people rides. It's
Yeah, I need to get on that list. That sounds like
I'm
fun.
telling you, man. I'm telling you, it's a good time. So,
Damn.
but what's new for the Mustang? What do you have in the works? You have any additional mods coming up?
Yes and no. I mean, everything, every car needs boost, so that's kind of
Every car does need boost.
that's next on the list. I got my little turbo Focus. I think I want to put a Whipple on this thing.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a lot of fun. That the Gen 3 blower that they've just come out with is phenomenal, and I think it was worth the wait.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I'm going to try to work that in this summer. Maybe my guys at Gearheads, or possibly the guy that I built cars for. So not really sure, but also want to kind of go with a Vortec at the same time. I know that it doesn't make as much power, but I really like the whole idea of the centrifugal and things like that. I think not a lot of guys are utilizing that as much.
Yeah.
I don't have to make big numbers with the car,
Right.
Because like you said earlier before we started, it's for you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I build the car for
Absolutely.
me.
Yeah.
And that thing. So,
Yeah.
and again with the Vortec, it would be cool because with Dad, we kind of have like a same but different theme going on. So the car would still be supercharged, but it's centrifugal instead of his Roush blower. But I think that's really the main thing. I'm kind of contemplating again whether I want to go more with the built to park route or try to make it a little bit more functional and do some more suspension upgrades. I recently just put a bunch of BMR stuff underneath it, like the cradle lockouts and the IRS alignment bushings and things like that. We went on the this big beach rally thing that we kind of put together. A couple of us did.
Yeah.
And so driving the car all the way to Galveston, I was like, I want to make sure that everything's situated. There was a couple other bigger cars with us, so if we wanted to get some pulls in, I wanted to be planted.
Right.
But I think either the boost, if we want to start going faster, or if I'm going to start moving towards more of a show car thing, I want to look at getting the interior done. There's a really badass interior on Instagram, Bloodshot 50. If you know Chad. But yeah, definitely worth the look up.
Yeah.
Bloodshot 50. He's got a lot of. He's one of those cars that he's touched everything.
Yeah.
Like every single piece of that car is how he wants it done. I'll probably take a little bit of inspiration from that. Do some white touches in the interior
Very cool.
and things like that. But it's kind of open.
Yeah.
It's, as far as what's next.
Yeah.
But,
well, that's cool, man. And it's a great platform. I mean, there's a lots you can do with it. That's for sure.
And more every day.
Yeah.
I'm always looking at who's putting out new parts and who's this company's making these for them now.
Yeah.
And it's been interesting to watch the aftermarket grow from when this car was a year old to now coming up on 5 years.
And there's still stuff coming out for it. That's
all
wild.
the time.
Yeah.
But
So TJ, you told us about your Mustang, so we're going to touch base on the car scene a little bit. One of the questions I always like to ask is, you obviously go to car meets and car shows. What's been one of your favorite shows?
well, I mean, not to plug the host here, but it's got to be Slam, man.
Yeah.
The very first one was the first Slam was almost a slingshot into the car scene for me. I had met you before that a couple times, and we were kind of going to things, my dad and I, and when we got to Slam, Dad and I parked, and we had been there probably 30 or 45 minutes, and the head turners had pulled in, which at the time meant something totally different than what it means now. But they all came in, all had theirs, the sticker was the same, and every car that pulled in with them was, very far from stock. They were nice cars. There was a couple of them that didn't have a whole lot done, but they were newer members. And so I kind of went over there and just kind of inquired about that and was like, hey, what does it take to join you guys and hang out with y'all? And they came over and saw my car, and basically that was it. And I started rolling around with them quite a bit. The car club thing ended up not really being for me, but met a lot of great people through the head turners. That was when I really started going to meets, showing up to everything that I had time to go to, and really fell in love with the car scene as a whole. There was the Wings and Wheels days.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, we were out there all the time.
Yep.
And that was really, like I said, kind of the beginning of going into the car scene. Then working with you on, like the Donut Day stuff.
Right.
That was kind of our real introduction, I guess.
Yeah.
Other than, hey, I know that guy. And then from then on, it was, The cruises, I was, fortunate to be part of the media team for, I think, every one of the cruises.
Yeah.
Which was an absolute blast. And then, just kind of going to meets here and there when we can. But
Yeah.
it's, now I don't have as much time as I used to, but, we do what we can.
Yeah. Got to make that time. You got to get out occasionally.
Yeah.
It's like I've got friends that have all these really great cars, and it's like nobody even knows you have them, and that's okay. I'm like, if that's your thing, you want to keep them indoors and not let everybody see them, But obviously the community is very welcoming, and it's really great. So you made a comment earlier about takeovers, so we generally touch base on that a little bit. So what's your thoughts on that?
I hate takeovers so much that it pains me to give them airtime on your podcast. So there's a common phrase now of big so-and-so energy. I can't remember the middle word. Big so-and-so energy. And to me, the takeover is the epitome of small so-and-so energy.
I got you.
That, to me, just like, I don't know. My car is loud. You will never hear me come through a residential area in a high RPM.
Yeah.
Shutting down traffic to, spin your stock V6 as much as it can with its little one-wheel peel. It's a sad scene.
Yeah.
It is a sad scene.
Yeah.
But to each their own, I guess.
We definitely have our thoughts. We all have our thoughts. I agree that, takeovers in the sense that, you're taking over a highway or an intersection, anywhere you're disturbing somebody else, people in traffic, people trying to get home or whatever. That's the biggest issue for me, having done donuts in parking lots and have street racing and all that stuff in my younger days, I can't say I dislike it, because I do like whipping donuts.
Oh, yeah.
But I've never done it in an intersection. I've never done it in front of thousands of people, taking over and disturbing people's daily lives. And that's where I have a problem with it. Now, if you guys want to go find some, secluded area and maybe not have people jump into the ring and get hurt or run over. I mean, people have died.
Yeah.
And
Several.
then I'm sure we've all seen the video of people bringing out fireworks and all of a sudden they're going home with no hands. Guys, it happens. And having been really young, we've all been there, you get that mentality where that's not going to happen to me. I'm invincible.
Yep.
I'm not going to get caught. Until you do. And then you're in jail. You ran somebody over. You killed somebody.
They crush your car.
They crush your car. And we're seeing more and more cities, even states, crack down on the takeovers, enforcing certain laws, impounding the vehicles. And so, I feel like there's a time and place for it, that's for sure. Street race even now has completely changed. Back in the day, we'd hang out at a parking lot, some fast food restaurant parking lot. If we wanted to go street race, we didn't all leave at the same time. We didn't all have a big convoy to where we were going. We all knew where we were going. One person leaves. 5 minutes later, somebody else leaves. 10 minutes later, and then we would rendezvous at our meetup spot, and it would be, maybe 30, 40 people, deserted road, middle of the night. That was your street racing.
Yep. And everybody that was there for the street
Absolutely.
racing. Not trying to get home from work or,
Yep.
God forbid, in an emergency.
Yeah.
How would you like that to be, oh, well, I did donuts. Me and my boys, shut down this intersection, and I did donuts on my, in my car that has nothing done to it but a straight pipe, and I got 43 likes on my Instagram video. But, little Johnny had a broken leg at home, and his parents were trying to get him to the hospital or something. And it's was it worth it?
Yeah.
But
yeah. I touched base on that before about, the people in the takeovers that are participating in it and blocking all the traffic, they have no earthly idea the ramifications of all these people because, my God, somebody's wife could be having a baby and you're preventing him from getting home. There could be a life-threatening emergency. Someone's trying to get through. Emergency. I mean, there's all these things. You know, let's say somebody's late for work. Oh,
Now
they're going to get fired.
late. Yeah,
they're
oh,
going to
yeah.
get fired, you know? Like, they just... And I know they don't care. I know it's going to fall on deaf ears. But, you know, even if it changes the minds of a few people and they kind of see like, okay, we understand that. We never thought of it that way.
Yep.
Just take it somewhere else. There's plenty of places that are deserted or closed down or, you know, I don't want to really mention like necessarily like industrial areas. But I mean, let's be real. There's a lot of places that just don't have people... large masses of people, you know,
The only damage
coming
you
and
can
going.
inflict is you running your own car into a light pole or something like that, which is your own fault,
Right.
you know, as someone who has literally done Mustang stuff, like the whole 9 yards, traction control off, bro, watch this. And just the worst. But it's like you said, there's a time and a place. You know, everybody loves a good smoky burnout, you know, just like the Australians do.
Yeah.
But you know, everybody likes to see donuts or drifting or whatever. But like you said, you know, it's at a skid pad, you know,
Right.
where somebody's got concrete barriers set up where you can't walk in that concrete barrier and get your legs broken.
Absolutely.
You know, but
Absolutely.
crazy.
And so many great stories from my 20s. So you were talking about empty parking lots and stuff. So as anybody knows who knows me, I'm a Chevy guy. So I was really big into really. So G bodies, right? I had like a luxury sport Monte Carlo, even an '84 CL Monte Carlo, always lowered down, sway bars, iBox springs, and I would go into these empty parking lots, you know, these commercial buildings, and man, you know, the little islands where there's like a single tree hanging out, right? Lamp poles. Man, I would drift all up in that parking lot, around, like just all by myself. You get chased off by security, but I wasn't harming anybody. If I wreck, it's on me. My bad. I shouldn't have been doing it, you know.
And you only broke your stuff.
My stuff. Yeah. There's no audience. There's no like, hey, you know, let me see how many likes I can get. And the crazy part that blows my mind is it's not like they're out there covering up license plates.
Nope.
Or their faces.
Here's my face. Yeah, get me on video,
out the
bro.
window.
Like, yeah.
You know, and people are putting it out there. They're just posting. It's like you've committed a crime and people know you.
Yep.
You know, so I don't know. It's just a matter of time before they get them all.
We can only hope, because it's the problem with the biggest problem with the takeovers, other than the immediate danger and the immediate impact of the scene itself, is the ripple repercussions of, you know, guys like me who mind their own business, drive like you're supposed to drive, but I do have a really loud car. And so when I'm on the highway and I click down 2 gears to pass somebody that doesn't, you know, isn't paying attention, well, my car is loud and now I'm one of them. And so you start to see it creeping in with the laws, and, you know, California's got all these crazy laws about sound now with the decibels and things like that. And most of it stems from the problems created by takeovers. And all these guys don't realize that, you know, they've got their loud cars doing donuts in the you know, the intersections or whatever. Every time you go out and do that, you're closer to never being able to do it again. Whether it's putting your life in danger, or shutting down the, you know, the ability to go drive cars like this out on the road, you know. But some people only think about the next 5 minutes, you know.
True.
And again, a big driver of it is the likes and the exposure. And you see it in every takeover video. There's a handful of people, they all have their phones out, videoing, filming, and all that stuff. But they're all trying to be the closest to the action. And those are the people who get clipped and they fly in the air. And it's like, it's all for the, you know, social media end of it.
Oh yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah. There's been a lot of crazy videos floating around. A few weeks ago, there was somebody. It was a 4-door sedan, and the guy sitting outside of the passenger side rear door, and he's literally got an assault rifle, and he's pointing at everybody as the car's whipping donuts, and I'm thinking, I'm sorry, if I'm in the crowd and you are pointing an assault rifle at me,
I'm gonna point back, and one of us won't be pointing very long.
you might think that you might get shot, and this dude like flying around in a car, he might get shot, you know. But listen, it's weird. We've seen telephone poles get hit, guns. We've seen bystanders getting shot at, you know, and then the lady in Dallas getting killed, you know, which is very, very unfortunate. But you know, it's one of those things where eventually they'll figure it out. If not, police will crack down. They'll take action, you know.
Oh yeah.
So
I think it's crazy though. You know, like I said, it's to me it's a selfishness thing.
yeah,
You know, you think you're the only person in the world at that point, and you know, it's just wild that it continues to be such an issue. But like you said, you know, hopefully they crack down on it.
Yeah.
You know, I know that they have people that are like, you know, undercover types and things like that that are actually in the scene and trying to shut the stuff like that down. But I like I said, hopefully they'll get a hand on it.
I think they will. So that's probably the worst thing about the car scene, right?
I would say so.
What's your favorite thing about the car scene?
To me, it's the melting pot of all melting pots. We all have a common denominator in the fact that you like cars in one capacity or another. You know,
Right.
like we always talk about, you know, what kind of car person are you? Are you a muscle guy, tuner guy? You know, do you like drift? Do you like drag? Do
Right.
you like, you know, show cars? Are
Right.
you a tilty wheel guy? You know, who knows? And to me, the fact that you can get so many of these people in the same small area and we all just kind of smile and talk and
Right.
you know, that's one of the few places where there's a lot of people who won't ever go up and talk to anybody.
Right.
But if you have a car that they're interested in, that same person that would never talk to you in the grocery store or doesn't really like to talk to people at all will come right up to you and say, "Hey man, what do you have done to your so-and-so?"
Yeah,
You know
I
what
agree.
I mean?
I agree.
But
Yeah. I think car enthusiasts in general, they share passion. Like you said, it doesn't matter what they're building. It could be a lowrider, it could be a lifted truck. It makes no difference. But they share that common denominator, which is the passion that they put into it. You know.
yes, sir.
Like this weekend, went to a lowrider show. Absolutely loved it. You know. Would I own one myself? Maybe one day. I love them.
Yeah.
They're very detailed. The engraving,
Some of
just
that engraving.
interior. I mean, it's just.
Golly.
They're just cool. The paint jobs, they're just absolutely incredible, rolling works of art, you know. And I don't think of those any different than I think of, like, you know, a lifted truck with a 14-inch lift and big old wheels and tires, or, you know, a custom Volkswagen or a hot rod. I mean, somebody put the time, money, and effort into it.
Yep.
You know, everybody has a different style.
That's the
So-
thing too, is appreciating, like, that took a lot of thought. Like that
Yes.
took a lot of. There's cars that are insane feats of fabrication,
Yeah.
and you know, back to the engraving. You see these '80s trucks,
Oh,
these
yeah.
square nose trucks that have all this engraving, and you're like, you did that in only 30 years. It looked like
Right.
it would take more than 30 years to do all that engraving. But you know, the variety for me has got to be the best thing.
Yeah.
One of my best friends I've ever met in the car scene is literally from China. Like, he,
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he came over from China. You know, wasn't didn't want to take the traditional route. You
Yeah.
know, over there, the Chinese are very traditional, very get a job, go to school, that
Gotcha.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
And you know, he wanted to do his thing. He liked Star Wars, and he wanted to get tattoos, and his parents weren't about it, and so he said, "All right, I'm going to America." And he's an
No kidding.
architect here. Yeah,
No kidding.
He's
That's
an
cool.
architect here. Doesn't really own any kind of car that's in the scene.
Yeah.
He drives a Mazda 3, I think, or a Mazda 2, I think.
Okay.
But he's a big car nut, and he goes everywhere with us. And
That's
we
cool,
love
man.
him.
That's cool.
We call him Panda. And,
Yeah?
one of my best friends.
That's
man.
fitting.
He's a cool guy.
That's very cool, man. Very cool. So, TJ, we've talked about your car, talked about the car scene a little bit. So we're going to go back to you. I want to know more about you and what got you into cars. Was there somebody in your life at an early age? Was it an experience you had? What got you passionate about cars?
It's a mix of a person and many experiences, I would say. If I had to pin it on one guy, it would definitely be my dad.
Yeah.
Basically, since I was born, my dad's had his hand in some kind of automotive stuff. When I was first born, he had a Mustang, 87 and a half, or would have been 84 and a half, 89 and a half, 25th anniversary Mustang.
Gotcha.
And sold it to support me, who was a surprise. And
surprise.
Yeah, best thing that ever happened to everybody. But anyway, but so he sold his car to support us, which every man would do if you needed to. And,
Heck yeah.
And he was in the mini truck scene before that, so he had him a little Nissan truck that was absolutely slammed, and it had the wild paint job on the side of it, like everybody did.
Dad was into mini trucks?
My dad was.
Oh,
he's done a little bit of
man, that's
everything.
cool.
So, yeah, he had a
That's
mini
super
truck
cool.
that he put 418s in a blow through in the bed, and they took it to stereo competitions and stuff.
Nice.
He ran around with his little mini truck crew, and he said that they would go from here to Houston, and everybody would be about 2 feet off of each other's bumpers. The guy in the front's got his lights on, guy in the back's got his lights on, everybody else rolling in the dark. And he would always tell me stories about them going to stereo competitions and blowing the windshield out of his buddy's van and all that kind of stuff. And it wasn't very long until I was probably, I want to say 4 or 5, and he was working with some friends at the time, Jerry Pinkard and a couple other guys, at a shop called Big D in Dallas, and they were turning sprint cars out of this shop. They were running a 2 sprint car team, sponsored by like Miller Lite, Hofbrau Steakhouse, and stuff like that. And my dad was on the crew for those sprint cars, so they were out at the Devil's Bowl in Mesquite a lot. And as early as I can remember, I was in the stands in a pair of headphones watching the cars go around the dirt track. So we would watch Jerry in the sprints. And then Dad would come up and sit with us, and we'd watch the midget cars, watch the modifieds and stuff like that. And my dad said that it wasn't but probably the 3rd or 4th race, and I had asked him if I could take the headphones off. My mom was all, she was kind of worried, like, we don't want to damage his hearing, stuff like that. It's your first kid, you treat it like an egg.
Right.
And so she's like, I don't want to damage his hearing. My dad, we're in the Devil's Bowl in Mesquite, Texas, and so everybody around was like, let him hear it. And so my dad decided to take the headphones off, and first lap around the track the sprint cars made, he said I was just lighted up, like looking at him like, wow. And so that was kind of really what kicked it all off, going through pictures of his mini truck and seeing him and his friends standing with their Mustangs and stuff like that, all developed physical pictures and stuff.
Yeah, well, that's cool.
And so I would definitely say my dad. He dipped out of the car scene once I was born. Never really had anything cool until he bought what would eventually be my first car, which he bought secondhand from a teacher friend of my mom's, who did not know what they were driving. It was a 2002 SVT Focus.
Oh, wow.
So very super niche car. Not a lot of people really know about that car, but I absolutely loved it. We were talking off camera about autocross and stuff like that, about how it's not about horsepower.
Yeah.
That's when I learned that.
Yeah.
I had a little 180 horsepower, naturally aspirated, front-wheel drive hot hatch. My best friend at the time had just bought a GT500.
Right.
And I was like, I told him, I said, I could take you in a track in this car. And he's like, oh, you're insane. It's a Focus.
Right.
It's a Focus. Shut up. A little black egg. And, he's like, you're crazy. And at the time, he was driving an RT Challenger when they had first come out. And when he went to buy his GT500, he's one of those guys that you gotta kind of protect your ego, and so he's like, I've definitely learned how to drive stick before. I know how to do it, but like, you think you could give me like some refreshers, like maybe teach me like how to do it right? But I've definitely done it before. And I was like, yeah, that's fine. So we go out in my little Focus, and I taught him basically how to drive stick, and he brought the car back after doing a couple laps around the neighborhood, and was like, okay, I understand what you're talking about now. Right. And I was like, yeah, that's what I thought. And again,
little go-kart.
Yeah, jumping out of a Challenger into that thing.
Oh, yeah.
And he was like, I really like that car. I
Right?
was like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was my first car. My dad drove it for a while because it got good gas mileage and it looked pretty good. You had KMC slides on it, a little bitty car with big black wheels. But he had that car and a '98 F-150 that he had bought brand new. It was the first vehicle he ever bought himself brand new. He got the color he wanted, the cab he wanted, the motor he wanted. It was all how he wanted it. And so he had just bought the truck I drive now, which is that King Ranch F-150, and basically the 02 SVT Focus and that '98 F-150 were sitting out in the barn, and I was fortunate enough that my parents were like, hey, I'm not going to go out and buy you a car, but there's two out there. You pick which one you want to drive, and you can have it. I'm like, wow. I was very thankful. So me being a sentimental person, also kind of a truck guy at the time, I was like, definitely the '98 F-150. So my mother gave it to her friend for free, and I drove the Focus.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
I hated it at the beginning. I was like, nah, I'm not driving that car. And, he taught me how to drive stick in it. And then after ripping it around a little while, it was like, oh, so I am a hot hatch guy. I did not know that. But it was a lot of fun. He got that King Ranch truck and, again, handed it down to me when I graduated high school. That was kind of my, graduation gift was, at the time, 186,000 mile F-150. But I absolutely loved that truck. Drove it for a couple years before he ended up getting that Mustang and giving it to me and all that stuff. But short car history. But I miss that Focus.
Yeah, do you?
I do want to find another one at some point, just because they are a blast to drive.
Yeah.
And it's a good looking car. But long story short, like I said, my dad definitely got me into cars, and it's been interested in it since. Now I think I'm dive a little bit deeper than he even is, and he's a car fan, but I feel like I'm I'm sick in the head at sometimes. It's like, why am I so obsessed with this? But it's always fun.
Yeah, it is a bit of an obsession. It really is. Car people definitely understand that, and I joke all the time like they need to make support groups for people like us, because one isn't enough, two isn't enough, and you're always buying, car parts or cars or whatever. So, but it is a lot of fun. It is a lot of fun. So with you being so heavy into cars, are there any like influencers out there or celebrities that you kind of gravitate towards that you like, you follow?
Yes and no. To me, a lot of people put a lot more stock into the influencers and things like that than they really should. I feel like a lot of people like almost live their life through trying to become whoever it is that they follow, or the people that they like, trying to be exactly that guy. For me, as far as like influencers that I like, or people that I've taken inspiration from, it's hardly anybody as far as inspiration for the car, or who I am or what I do. But as far as people that I could sit and spend weeks watching, like the VinWiki guys are awesome. I love that kind of stuff. Basically what we're doing now, sharing these stories. To me, it's important that these stories get told before they are no longer able to be told. Right. And so I always love hearing about other people's experiences with cars and things like that.
I do too. I do too. You touch base on that. I mean, honestly, that's really why I started the podcast, is to have people on, talk about, what got them into the cars, their build and all that stuff. Man, I will tell you, having my first car and then selling my first car, I think the stories that I absolutely love the most is when somebody comes in here, they're 40, 50, 60 years old, I still got my high school car.
Hell yeah.
To me, that is like, if there's one thing that I'm going to tell anybody who buys their first car, if you're a car guy, even if it breaks down, hang on to it. If you truly love that car, hang on to it. Don't sell it. Go get yourself something else that's reliable, and it may take you 20 years, 30 years, whatever, but don't sell your first car. If you truly are a car person and you love it, don't get rid of it. Because
I don't. Regrets.
Isn't it?
Yep. My dad and I put the motor. So that was the first time I'd ever been inside an engine of a car.
Yeah.
My dad, my sister, and I, when I was probably 10, going down the highway, and the car just made a terrible noise and basically locked up. And
Yeah.
Dad was like, "Oh God, pull over." And one of our good family friends is a 14-year Master Ford Tech.
Yeah.
And so he comes in handy. And we brought him over and was like, "Hey, this is what's going on with this." Basically, the timing belt slipped and sent like a rod in cylinder 3 out or something like that. I don't really remember, but we rebuilt the head of that car in my dad's shop.
Yeah.
And that to me was like one of the first real in-depth learning experiences I had with cars. Since I could stand up, he's like, "Here's how you check tire pressure," and watch me do this oil change,
Right.
things like that. But to rebuild the head of that little car right there in that shop was really cool. And I think what may have got me that much deeper into cars, as far as like the whole interest in how they tick, how they work, what parts do what, it's wild to me to see so many things work in such great harmony all at once, and knowing that if one of these things is literally like thousandths of an inch off, the
Yeah.
car won't run at all.
Yeah.
And so taking this thing out, just going down the road, is a feat in itself. And then to do what we do to them is
Right.
even cooler.
Yeah. It's a good way of looking at it. I never really thought about you when you said all the things have to work in harmony, but you are absolutely correct. Everything from your cooling system to, the oil pump and the ignition and the fuel delivery system, your transmission, like everything has to work together. That is a lot of moving parts. And especially nowadays with all the electronics and modules and solenoids and sensors, and it's like, my gosh.
Yep. Just adding to the list of
Yeah.
things that need to work.
Yeah. If you start thinking about like how many individual things can go out on your car, and people are like, "Oh my gosh, my car's always in the shop," and it's like, well, I mean, once every 3 months, it's not terrible for
10,000.
something to go out when you got 100,000 moving parts.
Some of that's, you don't really realize until you start to deconstruct some of these cars.
Yeah.
I remember when I was building race cars, the first time I set up a rear end was like, this is insane. Like, we were working with shims that are literally as thick as aluminum foil. And that was the difference in whether or not your rear end goes woo when you're going down the highway or not. And so I learned this the hard way because we set up the rear gear in my 2013 twice.
Yeah.
But, it was really interesting to see that all that stuff, like I said, has to work together, and it has to be within, the width of a hair.
Yeah.
Or you have a weird noise or a clunk, or it just straight up doesn't go.
Right.
But
Very true. Very true. Well, TJ, last and final question, and then I'll let you go. You've been here for a while. So having built this custom vehicle and some others in the past, what advice would you give to somebody getting their first vehicle?
do your research. Try to find the most outlandish and done up versions of whatever you're interested in to see, if it's something that you want to work on, see how far you can take the car.
Mm-hmm.
See what the aftermarket is like for the specific car that you're looking to get. As far as like an intro to the car scene, something like this is amazing. They have websites where every part of the car is listed, and you can, all from one place, order cosmetic stuff and, motor stuff here, suspension stuff, whatever it may be. But like I said, just kind of do your research, know what you're looking for. Try to drive a couple different cars.
Yeah.
Get as different as you can with your test group. So go find a buddy that's got a hot hatch that'll let you go rip it around, a front wheel drive car. Find somebody that's got, a big V8 rear wheel drive car, drive it around. See if maybe the truck scene is what you like and you don't even realize it. You know what I mean? You start looking at these drop trucks and what those guys are doing. It can be very interesting. But yeah, like I said, in short, do your research, figure out what you like, and then get that.
Yeah. You did mention that's a very good point. And that's really, really sound advice. one thing you mentioned is drive other people's vehicles. And honestly, I never thought about that before you like lower it or airbags or coilovers or something, because how many people have slammed their shit, right?
Yep.
And they're like, oh my God, I can't drive this every day.
Yep.
You know, it's horrible. Like,
look at what I pay for tires and a chiropractor. It's like,
right? You know, so it's like, that's really good advice. Go drive something that's already modified if you like it. You know, is it too bouncy? Is it too rough? Like, what would you do different? That's pretty good. Never thought about that.
That's how you get ideas. You know, the more of a sample that you can have, the more that you're gonna know what you like.
Yeah.
Go to car shows. Go to meets.
Right.
Look at every single car parked out there. Really look at it front to back, top to bottom. I like these wheels. Whatever it may be. By the time you go to maybe 5 or 10 meets, you're going to have a car in your head of like, what do I see when I see what I'm driving down the road in?
Yeah.
You know, and that's another thing. Close your eyes and picture yourself rolling
Visualize
down the street.
Yourself, yeah.
Yeah. I remember these cars coming out when I was in high school. I graduated in 15, and 13, 14, they started talking about the new Mustang. And so when this car dropped, I told myself, I'm going to own one of those one day.
Yeah.
This, to me, was kind of a dream car. I thought I'd be like everybody else and buy it. When I'm 45, 50, midlife crisis, I'm going to go get me a Mustang. And when I, was able to do it at 19, it was life-changing.
Yeah.
To be able to own my dream car and
absolutely
do the things we've done to it. But
absolutely.
Yeah. Find what you like and get it.
Absolutely. Well, that is awesome, TJ. It's been a pleasure having you on.
Yes, sir.
Always good seeing you.
Always.
Always. Well, thank you so much for tuning in and listening. Hope you've enjoyed our podcast. If you'd like to watch the video version and see the details of TJ's S550 Mustang, make sure to check out our YouTube channel, Texas Show Promoters. Join our other 80,000 supporters and follow, subscribe, or like Texas Show Promoters on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. Also, if you have a custom vehicle, live in DFW area, and would like to share your story, please just let us know. We'd love to hear it. Peace.